Irish feeling the heat as they try to play their way into the tournament. This is Championship Week presented by 7-Up. First round action for the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale at Rutgers. Leading Notre Dame by 3 going to the second half. You saw the collision that Chris Quinn was involved in. The only injury report we got was an injured right clavicle. As you can see, it does not look like, Len, he's in playing condition for the second half. A big loss for the Irish.
No, he's got the ice on his shoulder, and the bottom line is the Irish now, they've been able to diversify their offense a little bit, so they should feel good about that. Their front line, 2 guys off the bench, including Terrin Francis, 25 points. What they're going to have to do is continue that diversity and hope that Chris Thomas can get something started. Yeah, I'd like to get Colin Falls going from the outside as well. There you can see what the guards do and what the guards have done here tonight. Rutgers, meanwhile, getting some very good performances in the first half. Ricky Shields with a dozen. And there's some very strong inside play from the likes of Joins, Bailey, and Inglis. Well, the other thing Rutgers has been able to do is defensively, 6 Notre Dame turnovers in their transition game has really worked. 10 points off of those turnovers for Rutgers. Russell Carter with the rebound on the miss by Joins. You talked about the athleticism of Carter. We saw it there on that rebound. I got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of Russell Carter here in the second half with Quinn out with the injury. Looking inside for Francis, who had a monster first half. 13 points, 8 rebounds. Make it 15 and 8 for Terrin Francis. Well, Terrin Francis right now is playing with an awful lot of confidence carried over from the first half. But he just demanded that ball and really attacked. Again, what's at stake here for Notre Dame? They're 17 and 10, 9 and 7 in the conference, viewed by most as a bubble team in need of a win here tonight to give themselves a good shot at going to the NCAA tournament. And there's a good-looking shot by Ricky Shields. He's got 15 as we go to Mark Jones.
Yeah, guys, you're right on the mark. Chris Quinn with a bruised right clavicle. That's what the X-rays showed. He will not return to the game, obviously. Mike Brey told me at the half that he's going to ride Russell Carter as much as he can here in the second half. As for Gary Waters, the head coach of Rutgers, he told me at the half he wants to keep them off the offensive glass where they got hurt a lot in the first half, keep penetrating and keep running Shields off of multiple double screens. Back to you guys.
All right, Mark, thank you. Thomas with penetration, thought he was fouled, no call. Marquise Webb has it knocked away by Thomas at the other end. It will stay with the Scarlet Knights. And for those of you who weren't with us in the first half, here's the collision that has knocked Quinn out of the game.
Well, you take a look right here, just busting through there. And actually, it was Marquise Webb. I thought it was Ricky Shields at one point, but Webb very decisive in going after the ball, and Chris Quinn never saw him.
Doobie from the corner for 3. We've talked a lot about if the Irish win this game, is that enough to get them in? The flip side of the coin, Len, obviously, is if they lose this game, are they out? Can they possibly get in without winning this game?
Well, all I can say is to take nothing away from Rutgers, but they are a 9 and 18 team. And for Notre Dame to lose to them on a neutral court is a bad, bad loss.
Especially at this point of the season, especially when they've lost 3 of their last 4 coming in, 2 of them at home. Carter is fouled by Doobie on a 3-point attempt. First foul on Doobie. 3 free throws coming for Carter. You're looking at Chris Thomas, the senior. The Irish in the NIT last year. Thomas desperate to lead his team back into the NCAA tournament in this, his final go-round. Chris Quinn desperate to play, but it's just not in the cards for him tonight. You've got 5 teams that appear to be locks for the NCAA tournament out of this league. Boston College, Connecticut, Syracuse, Villanova, Pittsburgh. West Virginia beat Providence earlier today to go to 19 and 9. They appear to be in pretty good shape. Georgetown kept alive their very slim hopes with a narrow win over Seton Hall. They'll have to beat UConn tomorrow to continue with advancing in the Big East tournament. Joins, nice little step in, a left-hand lay-in over Francis.
Boy, Joins learning how to use that big body to shield the ball. He kept a lot of distance between he and Francis. Good upper body strength to get that ball up to the hoop.
Colin Falls just got a touch. He has been silent here tonight, has not scored after nailing 8 threes and scoring 28 points Saturday in a loss to Pittsburgh. Thomas steps in and draws the foul. This one will go on Ricky Shields.
We're going to take a look at Byron Joins. Look at him bump. He made the first bump, got room, and then just with a variety of moves kept Terrence Francis off balance. Francis never really able to time him to go up and get the block. And when you got a big body like that and you can hold the ball out extended, it's a long way for the defender to reach past those broad shoulders.
Thomas knocks down the first and to make it 2, an 88% free throw shooter on the season. Led the Big East in that category. Now Notre Dame a little bit of pressure.
Well, Notre Dame, no doubt, took a look at the Syracuse tape when Syracuse came back from 18 down using full court pressure. They just showed it there in a token sense, knowing that they may have to use it later on.
Missed 3 by Doobie. Ball tapped around into the hands of Francis. Francis now a rebound away from a double-double already. Thomas the pull-up, back rim, and the rebound to the Scarlet Knights.
Well, Chris Thomas is feeling as though he's got to do it on the perimeter because Colin Falls can't get loose. Falls is a catch-and-shoot guy, and he needs screens. And Ricky Shields and Webb, they're doing a great job of getting around the screens, getting through the screens, beating Falls to the spot.
Nice cut by Shields. Falls commits the foul. Let's check out the action at the other end. And you're right, let's give Shields a lot of credit for denying Falls the basketball.
Now you see where he is now. Screens coming from Falls right here. And look at Shields get right through it. Cornette was trying to set a screen, and Shields just beats Falls to the spot, takes away the passer's angle, and Falls just can't touch it.
Ollie Bailey travels. Gary Waters' team at times this year, some players spoke out and questioned some things that were being done. The athletic director went in the locker room after a game and told them how embarrassed he was about their performance after a huge loss to Villanova. They didn't protect their home court this year. Normally the RAC is such a tough place to play. They had a losing record at home. It's just been a very difficult season for the Scarlet Knights, but they can salvage a little bit if they can beat Notre Dame here tonight.
Well, again, part of that is growing pains. You get 1, 2, 3 sophomores, a couple of freshmen that you're relying on, and you're going to get an inconsistent play.
Jim Higgins with a call as Francis is fouled before the shot. For the Irish, it's Turin Francis or nothing at all. Will Mike Bray's Irish win and give themselves a chance to dance? The big story again in this game is what is at stake for Notre Dame, a team that was relegated to the NIT last year when they thought they had a chance to get in on Selection Sunday, is potentially facing the exact same fate here this year, especially if they lose this game here tonight. Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Here is Notre Dame's resume, their RPI, and again, it's just one of a number of tools that the committee uses. Has taken a tumble in the last week or so. Home losses to UCLA and Pittsburgh. Some impressive wins as Carter gets up and jams it in. They've beaten BC. They've beaten Connecticut. They've beaten Villanova. All 3 of those teams are heading to the tournament. They won at Indiana. Beat a pretty good team on the road. They don't have any real terrible losses, but they did lose at home to DePaul, a bubble team. Here's a steal by Thomas. One-on-one with Webb. Scoop goes in, and the Irish are back within 1. Maybe the most troubling thing for Notre Dame's chances is how they're finishing the season. They're 5-7 in their last 12 games.
Well, it takes plays like we just saw from Chris Thomas. You know, anticipation, a little aggressiveness for them to break out of the doldrums. If you're going to go down, you can't go down being passive.
Bailey's showing a nice touch on the 12-footer. Rutgers back up by 3. Ollie Bailey contributing. He's got 6.
And without his running partner, and we take a look at Colin Falls, they set a double screen to try to get him open. And that's what I thought they should be doing. And it could pay benefits because if he's covered, somebody else is open.
Falls is scoreless in this game after scoring 28 Saturday against Pittsburgh and averaging almost 13 points per game.
Bad decision. Bad decision.
And Chris Thomas knew it. Slapped his hands together as soon as Shields picked off that pass. And now Shields, as he's walking back up the floor, is talking smack to nobody nobody in particular. Looking over towards us and behind us into the seats. This is a group of Scarlet Knights that wants to redeem themselves a little bit for a very tough regular season. Bailey putting the moves on Jordan Cornette, a very good defender, and Bailey scores right over him.
And you can look in the faces of the Scarlet Knights and recognize they are now on a mission. You know, this is one of those games, as I said, at 9-18, 2-14 in the conference, it means nothing. They're going nowhere if they lose this game. But for some reason, they have banded together, rallied around the mission of taking Notre Dame and putting them out of the NCAA tournament.
Meanwhile, Jordan Cornette misses another three. Now Shields throws it away. Ollie Bailey, a member of the Big East All-Rookie team this year, back-to-back buckets for the Knights.
And again, when I say you're not going anywhere, this is probably the end of your season, he makes a big shot, and the emotion. Look at the face. They're on a mission right now. This is their season. That's right here.
This is their playoffs right now. Trying to advance into the next round to salvage a little bit of pride for a bad season and hopefully get a shot at Syracuse tomorrow. Falls misses, still scoreless.
Well, he's being pushed out. He's got range, but not that much range. And he's also rushing the shot because the athleticism of the Rutgers backcourt, they've been bothering him.
They are much quicker. Doobie. Bailey, one more time. 3 consecutive field goals for Ollie Bailey. Falls again. Sometimes when a shooter hits his first, all of a sudden he's on fire. Let's see what that does for Colin Falls. His first bucket of the night.
You've heard that before, haven't you?
Well, Falls, the second best three-point shooter in the Big East during the season. Number one, his injured teammate, Chris Quinn, who's on the bench right now with a bruised clavicle that will not return. Shields. Boy, a lot of contact. He looks at the officials, doesn't get the call. Thomas. Now Omari Israel, and you can see that one coming a mile away. Israel's a big body. And they're playing him a few minutes here and there because they're a man short. But when he puts the ball on the floor, it's not gone the Irish's way so far tonight.
Well, again, you get guys who want to be part of this thing, and sometimes they exercise poor judgment. You know who the hot hand is. You finally get Colin Falls to get one to fall, and you don't go back to him.
And you know what's happening too, Len? Because Chris Quinn basically plays about 38 minutes a night, Mike Bray is having to play lineups that he hasn't played the entire season, looking for combinations that have never played together before. Now a foul on the floor going against Notre Dame. And it will be Rick Cornette called for the foul. His first. Well, ESPN2's coverage of college basketball's championship week presented by 7-Up continues tomorrow with more action from right here in New York. The Big East Championship quarterfinals presented by Aeropostale. The day games at noon, West Virginia, Boston College. And then at 2, how about this quarterfinal matchup? Villanova and Pittsburgh. Out of bounds of the state of the Rutgers. In the night session, Len and I will have Connecticut, Georgetown, and then Syracuse against the winner of this game. Can the Irish come back, or will Rutgers, brimming with confidence, pull off the upset? Season, one of their best players, Chris Quinn, out with a bruised clavicle. What does a coach tell his team at this point of the ballgame?
Well, this is the most difficult time and situation to coach. Obviously, with all the pressure on, this is not about X's and O's. This is about all the effort areas. And Mike Bray doesn't need a chalkboard to show his guys what to do. He's got to implore them. You got to stay tough on defense. You got to get to the right spots, be in position. You got to execute.
Byron joins on the nice feed. Gets fouled inside.
You got to want it. Yep. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, and that's kind of what Mike Bray was saying after the loss to Pittsburgh on the weekend. He said, you know what? They know what they're supposed to do. And he said something like, do they want me to coach them like they're an NIT team, or do they want me to coach them like they're an NCAA team? He said, and then a lot of the players spoke out after the game about how angry and frustrated they were and how they're going to get it back and make amends. And Mike Bray basically said, hey, go out in the court and do it. The time for talking is done. You want to get in, go get a W. And that's what they have to do here tonight. And they're having a really tough time with the last place team in the league, which is not looking like the last place team in the league. Let's not heap this all on Notre Dame. Rutgers has played some very good basketball here tonight. They've been poised, Len. They haven't gotten out of control with the outside shooting. They've used the inside guys. They've defended well. They've done a nice job.
Yeah, let's not forget, this team is 2-14 in the Big East as they ended the season.
9-18 overall. Thomas to pull up. And is Chris Thomas going to have to be the man right now for Notre Dame? With Quinn out, Thomas is the only point guard. He'll play every minute of this game. Is he going to have to take over and lead his team to victory?
Well, he can't fall in the trap of doing it by himself, but he will have to pick his spots, no question about it.
Doobie trying to shake Carter, getting minutes because of the absence of Quinn.
And the other thing that's probably more important than Chris Thomas leading them offensively is that in this kind of game, you will win it defensively. You make some stops, you get rebounds. That doesn't fly when a guy can go in the teeth of your defense and nobody steps up to stop the penetration.
Doobie now with 10. Shields has 15, and Rutgers is back up by 5. They've led most of the night. Falls, swings it to Francis. His 15-footer is good. Francis now with 17 points.
And that's what I mean, the diversity of Notre Dame's offense now. You've got to exploit that. It doesn't have to be all Chris Thomas.
Francis having one of his best games of the season. And it was assertive right from the moment this game began. The Irish found him early and often inside. And he made it pay off. Now Jordan Cornette comes over for the block. And with that block, he becomes the Irish's all-time leader in that category with 201, passing LaFonso Ellis. Thomas had a man, Francis. Found him. Francis inside to Cornette, who got bumped.
Well, we talk about, again, you need somebody to lead you offensively. And Chris Thomas is capable of doing that. It doesn't have to be him by himself, but he needs help on the defensive end. And here Doobie just gets right into the paint. Nobody steps up to stop him. And it really makes the effort of Thomas all for naught.
The effort of Byron Joines has been huge here tonight, but Lenny's just picked up his 4th foul. They really didn't have much of a drop-off when he went out with the 2 fouls in the first half because Jimmy Inglis played so well. He'll have to do that again. Thomas kept it alive. Now Thomas for 3. Way short. Air ball, Chris Thomas. Rutgers with the rebound.
Now, if Chris Thomas is a competitor, I know he is. He's not going to let that phase him. That's not going to stop him from shooting the ball.
Still nearly 10 minutes to go. Doobie got bumped. And the tip is up and in for Jimmy Inglis.
That's what I said. Gary Waters realized in the first half that he can trust Inglis and he can trust Bailey to fill the void left by Joines if he got in deep foul trouble.
This has really been a group effort by Rutgers here tonight. Lost just a week ago to Notre Dame by 10. Mike Bray wants the bucket. He's not going to get it, I don't believe. The foul before the shot.
Again, Chris Thomas a little bit of trouble from beyond the arc. Maybe he was winded. Maybe he just misjudged it, but it was definitely an air ball. And then on the other end, another hero for Rutgers and Jimmy Inglis coming off the bench and just doing what he does best. Take up space behind underneath the basket and get your hands on the ball.
Meantime, Colin Falls misses a 3. Ollie Bailey in good position. Contested by Francis, and Notre Dame takes over. Who is going to be the scorer here for Notre Dame? Will it be Francis? Will it be Thomas? Or can they somehow get Falls free? Here he comes. Swings it inside to Francis, who passes up the shot. Thomas being defended now by Manny Casada, freshman in off the bench for the Scarlet Knights. Got some fresh legs, hasn't played a lot. Thomas, no. Rutgers ball.
And I think that's the problem with Chris Thomas now. His legs are starting to weaken.
And he can't come out with Quinn hurt. They don't have any other options.
And you take the air ball, and from our angle, when I saw that shot go up, it was so far offline, and that's because he didn't have the leg stability.
Thomas 4 for 13 from the floor. Inglis backing down Francis, and a block by Francis, who's having a terrific game.
Well, that's not Inglis's game. His game is not taking people one-on-one off the bounce in the post. You know, he's a weak side rebounder, take up space, get a hand on the ball. I think Rutgers has to realize that, but it gave their guys a rest.
Francis will go to the line. Inglis will be called for the foul. Rutgers leading by 5 under 8 minutes to go. All the pressure on Notre Dame as they look for what most feel is a must-win game.
Can't get the special pouring out of my head. Can't get the special pouring out of my head.
Guys, Cinderella Weber State trying to make a furious comeback, down 2, but Terrell Stovall just charges, gets called for the foul. Montana has hit 2 free throws. Weber's just had a 3. It's a 1-point game on ESPN2, guys.
And Chris, a bid at stake there, and in effect, I think everybody would have to agree, probably a bid at stake here for Notre Dame. Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. First round action. Rutgers, the last place team in the Big East, leading the Irish by 5. Turin Francis at the line for Notre Dame. Without him having one of his best games of the season, Notre Dame might be right out of it right now, but he's already got himself a double-double.
And he's getting Rutgers in some serious foul trouble as he continues to go aggressively. That's what I said, the war of attrition. That's one of the things in the back of Mike Bray's mind, as he's already lost his second leading scorer.
Chris Quinn out with a bruised clavicle. Byron joins on the bench for Rutgers with 4 fouls. Jimmy Inglis, who replaced him, is playing with 3. Francis doing a nice job from the line as well as he brings the Irish back within 3.
Gary Waters feels confident enough he can have a freshman handling the ball here, knowing that the Irish are going to pressure the ball in Quesada.
It'll stay with the Rutgers. 19 on the shot clock as Israel knocked it out of bounds, and now Russell Carter will return and Israel will go out.
And Ricky Shields, when he wants to shoot it, and he's disappointed he didn't get a foul call. He felt he was hit on the hands as he lost that ball out of bounds.
Rutgers has not had a whole lot of success historically in the Big East tournament. 3-7 all time. Got to the semis once. That was back in 1998. But generally it's been a one and done for the Scarlet Knights here in this tournament. Now they turn it over.
And that was the freshman point guard, Manny Quesada. Anticipated opportunity to lob the ball, and the recipient wasn't ready.
Doobie on the bench right now for Rutgers. Carter follows his own miss and lays it in. It's a 1-point game. Now Mike Bray wants some pressure. Here comes Cornette. And Rutgers gets it over. Inglis. Boy, the big guys are knocking down some big shots for Rutgers tonight.
Boy, off the penetration, they're just spotting up 10 feet off.
Ball's a nice find inside. Francis, no. Notre Dame ball.
I tell you, Notre Dame very lucky because Joel Wiggin literally out-hustled Russell Carter to that ball. See the little kick right there by Shields.
Inglis now with 8. Bailey with 10.
Just love to see the big fellas, big strong guys still with the soft enough touch on the baseline.
Francis being fronted now by Inglis. Now he sets a screen, frees up Thomas for 3. And we're all tied here at Madison Square Garden with the Irish playing for their NCAA lives right now, trying to avoid what happened last year when they were left on the outside looking in on Selection Sunday.
And being on that mission to take a team out of selection contention fuels you only so much. Now that they've tied and they've got some momentum, we'll see how badly Rutgers wants it, because you know the Irish have something to play for.
Gary Waters will bring Joins and Doobie back in at the next opportunity. Another rebound for Francis, his 11th. A monster game for Turin Francis. Thomas getting bumped. Cornette off to Falls. And a foul from behind is going to go on Ollie Bailey. And that will be his 3rd.
Well, Chris Thomas, again, taking advantage of the screen set for him. Watch the screen right here. And look at Inglis. He's supposed to be up here. Instead, he doesn't step out enough to hedge. Thomas gets a good look. And all it takes is one shot, as you mentioned before, for the shooters to feel comfortable.
Thomas trying to step it up here in the second half. He's a senior. Been to the NCAA tournament in 2 of his previous 3 years. Got to the Sweet 16 once. As now Mike Bray sends Israel in and brings Carter out. 7th team foul committed by Rutgers this half, and that means Francis will go back to the line where he's done a nice job.
Well, Mike Bray obviously playing offense-defense with Israel and Carter. Knowing Carter's athleticism is a benefit on the offensive end, and Israel probably more focused on the defensive end and also has a foul or 2 to give if necessary.
Led now a season high 20 points for Turin Francis, and the Irish have needed every one of them. After the 2 free throws, Notre Dame with its first lead of the second half, and we've got a timeout on the floor. Mike Bray trying to pump up his team, which needs a win here tonight. The presentation of the 2005 Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale is brought to you by 7-Up. If you want 100% natural lemon and lime flavors, the only way to go is up. And in part by Kia Motors and the all-new Sportage. The SUV with everything is now for everyone. And welcome back to New York City, where we had ourselves some kind of a cold March day here today. Just like yesterday, weather was a huge problem for a lot of the teams to get here, but it's heating up here inside the Garden tonight. A look at our Nike game track. Been a great performance by Rutgers. They have really played hard from the moment this game began. Shields with 15 points, including 3 threes. Notre Dame on a run right now, though, being led by Turin Francis, a season-high 21 points. He's got a double-double, playing without Chris Quinn, out with a bruised clavicle. And the Irish, after a couple of Francis free throws, have their first lead of the second half.
And Dan, here's where Rutgers meets that crossroads. You know, they've been ahead most of this game. Now they're behind. Do they have enough inside of them? Is it important enough to them to eliminate Notre Dame from NCAA contention to maybe move on? Or do they just want to go home?
Shields doesn't want to go home as he lays it in. He's a senior, so the next time Rutgers loses, he is done. His career is over, and he wants to play at least one more night. 17 now for Shields to lead the Scarlet Knights, and we're tied again. Colin Falls, a rare drive, and he had it blocked. Falls is down on the floor, now getting helped up as the officials confer and give the ball to Rutgers.
Well, this is what Colin Falls has seen all evening. Look at Shields. Bodies up to him, follows him off the pitch, so that when Falls squares up, he's got a hand in his face. Falls finally puts it on the floor, but obviously we know that's not his game.
So out of bounds to the Scarlet Knights, and the Irish are going to keep the pressure up. Carter's back in.
Well, during that timeout, you saw an animated Mike Bray just screaming instructions to his guys, and I suspect he told them, you know, this is for you seniors, this is the last 5 minutes.
Yep. He was frustrated with them after the Pittsburgh game, held a midnight practice, kicked them out of the locker room, and basically challenged them to go out and back up their words with actions. Go out and play like you mean it. Get angry. Show people you belong in the NCAA tournament.
I mean, he's cut.
Now he's working over the officials pretty hard. Rutgers ball with a fresh 35 after the foul on Carter, his first. Just the 15th foul committed this half by Notre Dame. Rutgers is already over the limit.
A nice switch out right there. Keep Doobie from shooting, but Cornette doesn't put his hands up.
Doobie right over 6'10", Jordan Cornette. 13 for Doobie. 3-point lead to Rutgers.
And look at the switch there. Joins does a nice job of holding Falls up so Doobie can get to him.
Cornette, air ball on the 3. And even though Cornette hit a couple in the first half, we mentioned he's a 25% shooter from out there. If you're Notre Dame, you've got to go to a different option. You got to get it inside to Francis or get Falls open or something. You don't want to go down with your 4th or 5th option shooting 3-pointers. No disrespect to Cornette, he's a terrific player, just not a great percentage 3-point shooter.
Well, he kind of made a mistake down there, not getting his hands up, and the man scored on him. That was his way of getting him back.
Thomas with an acrobatic scoop to bring the Irish within 1. 3.5 to go. Thomas with 15, 11 of them here in the second half as Marquise Webb walks the Knights up the floor.
And that's exactly what Mike Bray was telling him out of that timeout. You want to play tomorrow, you better give it up tonight.
Doobie the miss. Rebound underneath, and the putback for the big fella. Byron joins. The Irish on the ropes, down 3:17 to go. Back to the studio for an update with Chris.
All right, thanks, Stan. The 14th automatic bid will be handed out in the Big Sky, and Montana survives the desperation heave by Cinderella Weber State. And if they had a bunch of fans there in Portland, they'd be storming the court. As it is, the cheerleaders and team celebrates the automatic bid for the Grizz and Coach Larry Kristoviak in his first season back at his alma mater. Back to New York after this.
Rutgers up by 3:17 to go. Byron joins with a huge bucket to the Scarlet Knights left.
Well, he really was in the right place at the right time. As Joins, you see, just tries to get to that weak side on the tip by Thomas, who's under there battling. And he uses that strength to get it up to the glass. And, you know, this is not unusual. The last time these two teams played, Joins had 15 rebounds. It was his career high in rebounds, and he's been playing well in the last 5 games, 5.6 rebounds.
Notre Dame now down by 4. Let's bring in Mark Jones.
Lenny, you mentioned Joins' strength. Gary Waters, a big believer in strength and weightlifting. He traditionally has 4 or 5 players that bench press over 300 pounds on his team. Ironically, Joins this year is the only such player to do so, but he's putting the muscle into Hussey, albeit he fouled there on that last play.
And he fouled out, Mark. That's number 5 on Byron Joins. Boy, committing a foul 40 feet away from the bucket. That's got to be frustrating for Gary Waters as he calls his team over. There is more great coverage of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale coming your way tomorrow. All a part of Championship Week presented by 7-Up. Day games, West Virginia, Boston College. Don't sleep on the Mountaineers. They are dangerous as they take on the top seed, the Eagles, at noon Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2. Then Pittsburgh and Villanova. What a matchup that is in the quarterfinal at 2 Eastern. Both of those games available in stunning high definition over on ESPN2, as will the pair of games tomorrow night that Len and I will have for you. Connecticut, Georgetown on ESPN2, and then Syracuse against the winner of this game.
Well, again, if you're Rutgers, you hate to see Byron Joins go to the bench and in disqualification. And it was all a product of indecisiveness. He actually got out there in time and could have drawn a charge from Chris Thomas, but he recognized it. It looked as though you saw it go in his brain. Oh, I've got 4 fouls. Yeah. And he started to back away, and that's when the contact occurred.
Thomas, the best free throw shooter in the Big East this season, knocks down the first. Notre Dame 17-10, 9-7 in the league, but did not finish well. Lost a couple of home games to end the regular season to UCLA and to Pittsburgh. They do have some nice wins over the likes of Connecticut, Boston College, and Villanova.
Somebody better get the ball out of Waterstad's hands.
That's exactly what Waterstad was thinking. Rutgers gets it over, up by 2, under 3 minutes to go. No matter who Syracuse gets tomorrow night, they had wild regular season games with both of these teams. 3 from the wing, not there. Rebound, Francis. And now the Irish with a chance to tie or take the lead. Mike Gray calls a timeout. Well, we talked about how there haven't been many great moments for Rutgers in their 10 years in the Big East. Here in the Big East tournament, their greatest moment undoubtedly came in the quarterfinals in 1998. Jeff Billett with a runner that went at the buzzer as they beat Georgetown 61-60 under Coach Kevin Bannon, advancing to the semifinals, the furthest they've ever gotten in this tournament. Right now, a win would just get them to the quarters, but it would be sweet revenge for a loss just a week ago to Notre Dame. And Rutgers would know that they may have nailed the Irish's chances shut on going to the NCAA tournament. Notre Dame may not be able to get in if they lose here tonight. They would be 17-11 and losers of 3 in a row. Not the way you want to convince the committee you're worthy of a bid.
During that timeout, you know Gary Waters wants this one. He thought that shot was too quick, and he wants his team to drive.
Carter driving, throws up a prayer, not answered. Rutgers ball.
You know, it's about melting some time off the clock and he wants to put pressure on the Irish defense.
And now Gary Waters wants to use a 30-second timeout. They've still got 3. Notre Dame's got 1 less. We started to talk about the Notre Dame resume. That's the big story coming into this game. What do the Irish need to do to get in? Lynn, why don't you summarize their resume for us?
Well, I mean, you take a look again. 17 wins. I'm not sure that's enough. The key wins, to me, are important. Boston College, UConn, Villanova, at Indiana. But they're balanced by those key losses. You know, particularly DePaul and UCLA, which occurred at home. This tournament selection committee wants to see who you are today, how competitive you are. Those last 10 games at 5-5, playing 500, you know, isn't exactly something that's going to wow them. And again, as I mentioned before, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, they cannot afford to lose to a 9-18 team on a neutral floor.
Consider that DePaul's considered to be a bubble team as well. If it should come down to 2 of those teams going for the last spot in the tournament. Notre Dame lost at home to DePaul. Now, UCLA loss was just last week, and Notre Dame did not play very well. It was not that competitive a game.
And they were victimized again by 3-point shooting.
Under 2 minutes to go. Webb trying to shake Thomas. Shot clock at 6. Webb throws it out. Loose ball off the hands of Francis. Thomas looking for it. Webb has it, but the shot clock expires. It never hit the rim. So Notre Dame will get the ball back. A break really for the Irish right there, as again Rutgers appear to out-hustle them to the basketball. And now Joel Wiggin will check in for Waterstrat. And Rick Cornett will come into the game for Notre Dame for Jordan Cornett. Byron Jones has fouled out for Rutgers. Chris Quinn has not played at all in the second half after suffering a bruised clavicle in a violent collision in the first half. And now Tim Higgins is questioning a substitution. It was not Waterstrat who was supposed to come out. He mistakenly thought it was him. It's Ricky Shields coming out, so Tim Higgins allows the proper substitution. Shields will be coming right back in as soon as Rutgers gets the ball back. Now here comes Thomas, the 4-year starter for Notre Dame, and a member every year of some kind of a post-season conference all-star team, and he just got maybe the biggest assist of the season for the Irish as Russell Carter, of all people, drains the 3, and Notre Dame leads.
Well, Carter was given a green light, but he came into this game shooting 53% from beyond the arc.
Doesn't play all that much, but makes the most of it. 10 for 19, as Len mentioned, coming into the game on 3-pointers, and he looked awfully confident jacking up that shot.
Because he was awfully wide open.
Well, today, ESPN HD and ESPN2 HD kicked off a 5-day stretch which will bring you 26 tournament games in high definition. Tomorrow alone, you'll see 8 games from the Big East, Big Ten, and the ACC in HD, but only if you contact your local cable or satellite provider and tell them you want ESPN HD and ESPN2 HD. 4 games tomorrow from the Big East Championship, all on ESPN2, all of them in high definition. Notre Dame now leads by 1 after the clutch 3 from Russell Carter, who's got a career-high 12 points tonight, playing for the injured Chris Quinn. Shields will try to answer, and does. What a big-time shot by the senior.
And that's the kind of play that Gary Waters wanted a couple of possessions ago when Rutgers settled for a jump shot. He believes now they've got the advantage to take people off the bounce, get in the paint, draw fouls, and get good shots.
I got to agree with him based on what Shields has been able to do. Notre Dame's used its last timeout.
Look at that quick first step to his left and a floater.
Well, he had a big guy on him, Omari Israel, at 6'9", 235. Notre Dame again playing with 3 bigs, and Rutgers playing with 3 guards, so somebody's got a mismatch.
That's right, and they isolated it very well, but Ricky Shields, just from the opening tip, has just provided an awful lot of offense and excitement with his quickness as well as his range. And again, as a senior, averaging 13 points a game, shooting about 34% from beyond the arc. 4 consecutive games that this young man has really gotten the job done. 16 of his last 35 3-point attempts.
And you can see he didn't do anything at all offensively against the Irish just a week ago, but he's had a very big game here tonight. And this is another area where the loss of Chris Quinn hurts the Irish. Without him in there, and with Colin Falls not having the foot speed to stay with a Shields or a Doobie, Mike Brace decided to go big. He really doesn't have another option, another quick perimeter player to put in there defensively on the likes of Shields.
Right, and Israel, unfortunately, was the odd man out. You got one big playing those three guards, and all three of those guards capable of taking it to the basket.
Notre Dame is out of timeouts. They're down one with the ball, 1:07 to go. Falls back in for Israel here to the offensive end. Falls with just 1-3 in this game. Hit 8 Saturday at Pittsburgh. Now he's stripped, and Ricky Shields is off to the races.
Again, it's all about quickness. And Colin Falls took his eye off of Shields and the ball just for a split second.
Thomas for the tie.
Nope, didn't need that.
Falls for the tie. Loose ball to the Irish. What a scramble here as Carter spins into the paint, can't finish, and now finally Rutgers comes up with the ball. Gary Waters wants a timeout. Before he got it called, Notre Dame committed a foul, and now the Irish's NCAA tournament hopes may truly be slipping away.
Well, first of all, the long shot by Chris Thomas. You know he wants to win so badly, but you can't do it by yourself. Here's the strip, though, that preceded that. He was turning the pass instead of getting in triple threat position. The ability to make a power sweep through his defender. He just held the ball up there for grabs. And then I'll tell you what. On that scramble for the ball, you give Waterstrap an awful lot of credit for keeping it alive.
Doobie knocks down the front end. 2-possession game. The Irish out of timeouts and running out of time and chances here to come back in this game. Gary Waters calls a timeout.
Again, in the mad scramble, it takes everybody to get involved. And watch the ball go up on the shot. And it was Waterstrat again that kept it alive with just with a little tip, just hanging around the basket.
And you've got to give Gary Waters and his coaching staff a ton of credit. This is a team 2-14 during the Big East season, 9-18 overall. A little dissension, a lot of frustration, underachieving, not winning. How he managed to motivate them to play as hard as they have for 40 minutes here tonight, it's really a credit to him.
Well, it is. And, you know, they now have seemed to rally behind them. Unfortunately, it's probably the next to last game of their season. Because you know what's up next if they win this, right? You never know. Let me back up and say that. You know, Cinderella always brings the shoebox around.
They got to finish this one off first. The Irish need a couple of quick scores here. Thomas finds Cornette. Rutgers basketball again. Foul committed by Thomas. And Rutgers on the verge of pulling off a pretty major upset here to the Big East Championship. And in effect, you would have to assume extinguishing whatever NCAA tournament hopes the Irish may have had. Ricky Shields is our Reebok player of the game here tonight after scoring just 2 points against Notre Dame a week ago. 21 big points here tonight.
And it bears repeating again, a lot of positive things that Notre Dame accomplished throughout the year. And, you know, I'm just saying that the pulse is getting weaker. But at the end of the day, when you lose to a 9-18 team, one that's in your conference 2-14 on a neutral court, and you're battling to get into the tournament, it just doesn't sit well.
Russell Carter misses a three. Steal by Thomas. He gets an open look for three. And the shot's not falling for Notre Dame. The Irish will gather as a group on Sunday and learn their fate for the second year in a row. Will they be left on the outside or looking in for the second year in a row? I can't imagine as a group they're going to go into Selection Sunday with a whole lot of optimism about where they're going to wind up.
And again, not to make excuses for the Irish either, but the hard luck loss of Chris Quinn.
Yep.
You know, that obviously had to have impact. And throughout the first half when he was in the locker room, you know, it's a close-knit group. You know in the back of their minds they were wondering about his welfare and couldn't give the full focus. Now, again, that's not to make an excuse. That's just human nature.
The 11th seed here in the Big East Championship, Rutgers on the verge of knocking off the number 6 seed Notre Dame and advancing to the quarterfinals tomorrow night, where they will play Syracuse, the team that they should have beaten earlier in the season at the RAC. We'll see how they stack up with the Orange tomorrow night. Notre Dame will be 17-11 come Selection Sunday. It may be headed to the NIT for the second year in a row. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights with a big win over Notre Dame tonight, 72-65. It'll be Rutgers and Syracuse in the fourth and final quarterfinal tomorrow night here from Madison Square Garden. And you can see all 4 games on ESPN2 in high definition. What a day of basketball, day and night of basketball coming your way tomorrow on ESPN2 from Madison Square Garden. Again, the final. Rutgers 72, Notre Dame 65. Sports Center is next here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. For Len Elmore, Mark Jones, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying so long.
Tomorrow night. And the second game tonight, Rutgers and Notre Dame. Surprising here, Rutgers in the red trailing by 1. Ricky Shields had 21 points. Scarlet Knights go up by 1, and they win it. Final score of 72-65. So Rutgers will now play Syracuse. And this afternoon,
Rutgers and Notre Dame in the nightcapper. Scarlet Knights up by 1. Ricky Shields, sticky fingers. He also has the speed to beat the pack. Rutgers upsets Notre Dame 72-65.
Stick around, and Ricky Shields comes up with the steal and lays it in, and that sealed it up. Rutgers moves on with a 72-65 win. Next up for them, Syracuse in the second round. Also tonight,
tied at 56, tied at 58. Quincy Doobie has got a 3 of his own. 61-58. Rutgers on top. Doobie misses. Byron joins the putback and the foul. Rutgers up by 4 after the freebie. 2-point game when Russell Carter connects. Put the Irish up 1. Irish still up 1. Here's Shields. Drive, runner, gets it to go. Rutgers by 1. We go back and forth. Ricky Shields, the steal. Finishes with a layup. Rutgers up 3. They upset Notre Dame. Joe Lenardi as the Fighting Irish bubble burst.
Fast forward inside the final 5 minutes, tied at 58. Quincy Doobie over Jordan Cornette. Going to play that Cornette. Hits and gives Rutgers a 3-point lead. Now up 2 with inside 2 minutes left. Russell Carter hits a 3. Notre Dame has a 1-point lead. About a minute left. Ricky Shields with the steal. He'll go the distance, the easy 2. Shields had 21, and Scarlet Knights lead it by 3. Would there be a late collapse? Well, wild sequence here. Colin Falls misses the 3. Rutgers the rebound, but the turnover. Carter comes up with it, but he can't convert on the wild spinning move inside. Doobie gets the rebound. He is fouled. Rutgers would hit the free throws down the stretch, and they would win it. Mike Bray watches his NCAA tourney hopes burst. Notre Dame shot 5 of 22.